Nathan Leopold, 19, and Richard Loeb, 18, had very similar childhoods. Both were brilliant students, born into wealthy families. The boys knew of each other while growing up, but they became close while they were attending the University of Chicago. They both rebelled against society's expectations. And after their relationship turned physical, the pair began plotting various crimes. In 1923, Leopold and Loeb robbed a fraternity house, making off with $74, a bottle of liquor, and a typewriter. Then, they began plotting a kidnapping for ransom. They came up with an elaborate scheme that required decrypted bank accounts, tossing cash out a train window, and false identities. And to disguise the crime, they planned to murder their victim. On the afternoon of May 21, Leopold and Loeb spotted their ideal target, 9-year-old John Levinson. After identifying Levinson as their victim, Leopold rushed to find binoculars to spy on the boys' baseball game, while Loeb slipped away to look up Levinson's address for the ransom note. But when the teens returned to the school, Levinson had vanished. That's when Loeb recognized Bobby Franks, his distant cousin who lived close to the Loeb mansion. Then, the plan changed. Leopold and Loeb pulled up next to Bobby and offered him a ride home. Bobby initially refused, since he was barely more than a block from his house. Then Loeb said, "Well, get in a minute. I want to ask you about a certain tennis racket." As soon as Bobby stepped into the car, the teens hit the gas and fled the scene. Within minutes, Loeb struck Bobby with the chisel and stuffed a rag into his mouth. Bobby died in the car, likely of suffocation. Leopold and Loeb drove nearly to the Indiana border with the body of Bobby Franks, where they stripped away his clothes, poured hydrochloric acid on his corpse, and tossed him into a culvert. Then, they posted the ransom note. "Dear sir," the note read, "as you no doubt know by this time, your son has been kidnapped." The note promised the safe return of Bobby Franks in exchange for $10,000, but Leopold and Loeb never got their money. Early the next morning, a Polish immigrant stumbled across the body of Bobby Franks. Edwin Gresham, Bobby's uncle, identified the corpse. "It was beyond the question of a doubt in my mind that the boy was Robert," Gresham testified. According to a 2010 write-up on the case in the University of Minnesota Law Library, Jacob Franks learned that his son was dead while the killers were still trying to extract a ransom, so he never showed up to drop off the money. It didn't take investigators long to trace the murder of Bobby Franks back to Leopold and Loeb. HUD unintentionally left a trail of evidence for sleuths to follow. The night of the murder, Loeb threw the chisel used to bludgeon Bobby from the window of his car, where a night watchman turned it into police within the hour. The teens also cleaned blood from their rental car on Leopold's driveway in the middle of the day. What's more, Loeb bragged to his reporter friends, "If I was going to murder anybody, I would murder just such a cocky, little son of a bitch as Bobby Franks." The crime scene also held numerous clues about the killers that led police to Leopold's home just 4 days after the crime. A game warden had named Leopold, an ornithology enthusiast, as a common visitor to the forest preserve where Bobby's body had been found. Within days, a rare, expensive pair of glasses served as the final nail in the coffin for Leopold and Loeb. Only 3 people in Chicago owned a pair, and one of them was Nathan Leopold. Police arrested Leopold and Loeb, who confessed to the crime on May 31, 1924. However, both of them claimed the other had killed Bobby Franks. They faced a judge several months later in what some have called the trial of the century. Leopold and Loeb ultimately pleaded guilty to kidnapping and murder. As the judge weighed the sentence, Bobby's older brother, Jack Franks, told reporters what he thought. "They should be hanged," Jack declared. While Bobby had argued against capital punishment, his death convinced Jack that some crimes deserved the ultimate penalty. Ultimately, Leopold and Loeb each received a life sentence plus 99 years in prison for the crime of murdering Bobby Franks. Loeb died in a prison fight in 1936. Leopold lived long enough to earn parole in 1958 after 33 years behind bars. Bobby's father, Jacob Franks, mourned his son's death. "He was the flower of the family, the idol of my wife's heart," Franks told the Chicago Herald and Examiner in June 1924. "We built so many hopes on him, and now, he's gone, and nothing we can do or say will bring him back." However, Jacob Franks also had sympathy for Leopold and Loeb's families, in particular. The men who must realize now what sort of boys their sons are. We've come to the end. Let me know, what are your thoughts on this case? Which case would you like us to cover next? Till next time.